Welcome. Fidel Castro made an announcement in 1980 that would change everything. So let's get to it. If you wanted to leave Cuba, well, you can. Just go to the port of Mariel in Havana, and just like that, the doors opened. But let me be clear, this wasn't generosity. This was a strategy. Cuba was struggling. The economy was failing, much like now, except I think now it's a little worse. And instead of fixing the problem, they found a way to get rid of it. Between April and October of 1980, about 125,000 Cubans left the island. And I'm being generous. We think it was more than that. But this isn't just about history for me. This is my family. This is my story. We had already escaped Cuba, 1977. So I was about 13, 12 or 13 when this happened. And when I say escaped, I meant that. My dad had been incarcerated under that regime. He wasn't really free when we left. Not the way people think of freedom. He was on parole when he left that island in 1977. So when people talk about Cuba like it's just politics, not for us. It was survivor. So Mariel Boatlift is announced. People in the U.S., Cuba exiles, start getting their boats, big one, risking everything, just getting everything ready, and there they go. My dad and his friends rented a large boat, a yacht, to go back to Cuba to get my mom's family. Now think about that for a second. You escape a country that locked you up, then you go back, and then no politics, that's family. But that had to be scary. So I asked my dad, how did you feel? He goes, I never left the boat. So when you get there, it was chaos. Boats everywhere, hundreds of them, people coming from Miami heading straight into Cuban waters. My dad told me it was a scene you had to be there to see it. He cannot describe it. You arrive, you turn your list in and the names of your family, and then you wait. Days, sometimes a week. According to my dad, the process took about a week. Again, they just wanted to keep you there so they can make money. Now, during that time, hotels were available for the captains and the crew, not my dad. My dad stayed in the boat because he had already lifted. He had already been locked up. He knew how fast things could change if anybody recognized him or his name came up anywhere, so he stayed on that boat. He didn't step off. He didn't risk it. So that fear, that was real. Meanwhile, others went into the hotels, and what they described was something else. Money flowing, American dollars only allowed. Whiskey, cigarettes, entertainment, if you know what I mean. Even drugs. It was the 80s, after all. The party was in full swing. This was just a huge party in Havana. This was business. So it was a strategy to get everybody to pay with dollars. For the regime, they were making money off people trying to leave, and then came the part that no one was ready for. Yeah, because there's always something with these communists. The government asked the skippers, how many people can your boat hold? And once you answer, they filled it. Not just with family. My dad's boat came with about 150 additional people. Yeah, you didn't know who they were. You go to save your family, and now you're responsible for strangers. That wasn't told prior to the boats going there. This was well played. This is where it gets uncomfortable. There were prisoners released. There were people from mental institutions, and whether people wanted to soften that today or not, the men on those boats had no control. They had to take them. Once they realized what was happening, it was too late. What were you going to do? Leave family behind? No. So they complied. And then those boats hit Florida. Oh my goodness. Everything changed. Communities overwhelmed, systems stretched, and people didn't understand what was going on until it was already there. If you've seen Scarface, and I have a few times, that was the energy. That was the chaos. It did not come from anywhere. I don't know. I forgot who wrote the movie, but he definitely did his homework. I asked my dad just recently, do you think this would have happened under Ronald Reagan? He said, absolutely not. But it was Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy Carter was soft like that. Everybody loves immigrants. Everybody loves a story of rescuing people from a communist country. But they weren't just rescuing family members. They were rescuing also a bunch of trouble. History is what it is. But the leadership matters because decisions up there show up down here in real life. The Mariel Boatlift ended in October of 1980, but the impact didn't end there. Florida carried it for years. It was a mess. The crime was high. It was just a mess. People living under bridges. It was a mess. So now I'm going to get real. Immigration is not black and white. This is not about the people who come here to work, to build, to follow the law. That's not what this is about. This is about what happens when there's no control, no structure, no accountability, which is what we are seeing right now. And although Trump has deported a lot of criminals, believe you and I, there's still much more around because they got scattered. It wasn't like with the Mariel, everybody was in Florida. This was distributed across the country. So think about that for a minute. So we don't know who's in here. You don't just bring in people. You bring in problems. And when your system has to absorb it, what do? It's your neighborhood, your communities. But make no mistake, the people that suffer more are those inner cities because we lived in Coral Way close to Gables. We didn't see it as much as Overtown or downtown Miami or Little Havana. Those are the places that really absorb all this problem with illegal immigration. Because make no mistake, there were criminals, there were people with mental institutions that came out of mental institutions. So therefore, as soon as they did their first crime here, or they locked them up in a mental institution, who pays for that? We did. It wasn't like you could send them back. Carter wasn't going to do that. And Reagan couldn't do that either. I wish Trump had been, because I don't think that would have happened under Trump. But regardless, people suffer. Most of the inner cities, just like they did here when all those illegals came in with the border wide open. Because I'm sorry, we cannot continue to believe that the border was closed like they told us. So, like I said, the inner cities are the ones that bear the brunt. So when I hear people talk about Cuba today, talk about lifting the embargo, you cannot negotiate with a communist regime. Cuba was divided into 6 provinces. I'm going to say it in Spanish. Pinar del Rio, La Habana, Matanza, Santa Clara, Camagüey, y Oriente. Those were the originals. Then they split those up in like 3 systems. So this way, think of it as a neighborhood. So 3 neighborhoods. Control everywhere. You have one person in that neighborhood who is a communist, and he is spying on everybody in that neighborhood. You get a couple more people to kind of give him the information, and this way everybody's under control of the communist regime. That system doesn't just disappear, and lifting the embargo doesn't fix the people. The only thing it does is gives the regime more time. Because my dad was very clear with me. They don't have necessities. They have generators, so they have lights. Their houses are better than some of the houses here. And they live better than most even in this country. So understand when I say this, some of us didn't read about this. We didn't go to school and learn about it. Our families lived it. We lived it. And we're still carrying that. So when you say lift the embargo, like Greta, whatever her name is, that little girl, or I don't know, because she never gets old. That's funny. That's another story on its own. But when you say lift the embargo, we say no way. When all that family got here, I actually felt bad because it was a lot of people. And the family members that went down to Havana to pick up those family members, the families that they wanted to pick up, those people, again, they weren't needy. They were somewhere in the middle class. They had amazing boats. They had money. So again, they sponsored their families. But the other people that they brought on that boat, they went to under the bridge in the inner city of Miami, Florida. It was a madhouse. Again, lifting the embargo wouldn't do anything, unfortunately. I wish we could, and things could be great, but these people have to go. There is just no way around it. Rubio is handling this beautifully, and they just have to go. They could go to Russia, they could go wherever they want, but they have to go. Because my dad also explained to me that they get supplies from China, Russia, even Canada, which I was shocked. And obviously Venezuela was their lifeline. And that's why Rubio did what he did. The strategy is magnificent. So with these people that supply them, the reason they're not supplying Cuba, it's not because they don't want to, it's because Cuba doesn't have any more money. He is basically blackmailing the families here in the U.S. To send money over there, because that's the money that they're getting. They cannot finance anything. No more IOUs. They're out of cash. And Rubio played it brilliantly, because that's the only way to bring these people down, is to strangle them so they don't have the control of the money. Once you have money, you could stay there longer. You could buy, because these communist countries have had it up to here with Cuba. I mean, they're a bunch of fucking liars and and again, my apologies, they're just communists. That's what they do. They lie. They breathe it. They wake up in the mornings and that's what they do. They lie. It's in their DNA, which is really hard to understand. And again, when the people here say, well, if you lift the embargo, you're going to save the people. No, you're not. You're just going to get those people to stay there longer and longer and longer. So it's not a good strategy. They have to leave. I mean, you have people here in the United States who did the same thing as I did when I became a citizen. They pledge allegiance to the flag. They take their oath. But they didn't take that to heart. And those are the people that we have a problem with. You come from another country here, but then you bring the same beliefs that you have in that other country, you bring it here and you try to push it down people's throats. The American people, the immigrants that did it the right way. We have no problem with illegal immigrants. We have a problem. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. We have a problem with illegal immigrants. We don't have a problem with the legal ones. And I truly believe, as I said in my last video, that if you come here legally and you are sponsored by your family, things would be much better. Now, when my parents brought these family members back into our home, it was a very difficult time. We sponsored them. Some of them stayed in our house, and my house was just chaos. The Mariel didn't just happen to the city of Miami, Florida. It happened to everybody. My life changed with everybody there. Like I said, I was 12 years old, and our family was never the same after that. Everything was chaos. There was a lot of partying going on. It was just chaos. And my life changed forever after that. I didn't particularly follow the rules. And when I saw that all that chaos, I decided to act out. And I was no longer a child. I'll put it to you that way. At the age of 13, I wasn't a child anymore. I was an adult pretty much. And this is probably why I left my house at 15 after my quinces. I don't even know how I got through my quinceañeras because I was wasted. The drugs started playing a role big time. Again, it was the 80s, on the home and destruction of, the home, the structure of the house, the rules, everything just went out the window. Everybody was doing their own thing. Nobody gave a shit about anything, and everybody was out for themselves. And that changed my world. But anyways, that's another story. I love you. Thank you. Please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Share if you have to. I know that this is not really in today's topic, but again, this was just a foundation for you to know and get to know me. And like I said, I was a young mother at a very early young age, I should say. And the Mariel not just changed everything in the state of Florida, but it changed everything in my life. And that's where the heartache and the trauma and the problems began for me. So thank you, and I'll come back and talk a little more about this. I feel like I could do 2 shows on the immigration of the Mariel and on anything that's going on right now here with illegal immigrants. So again, thank you, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.